Welcome to the next episode of the Talk of the Town podcast, where we bring to you local leaders, local stories, and local impacts. I'm Cameron. This is Kevin. And we have officially completed our first month of podcasts.
Yeah, it's kind of a monumental. I think we had some good episodes in the month of July, and can't wait for this coming month and beyond. And as we discussed in the first episode and laid this out, it's the talk of the town. What are people talking about? Mm-hmm. And I think today's topic is something that's going to be really good. Recently, we've had some discussion at City Council about MUDs 2, 3, and 6, and what does that look like if they came in the city, if they didn't, all of those kind of things. And we've had some people reach out directly to us,
both living in the MUDs and in the city.
In the city, asking us to weigh in and have an episode.
Yeah, so I'm going to quickly apologize to you guys. We ended last week's episode saying we're getting away from Pearland politics, and as everything happens in politics, just wait a day and something changes, just like the news cycle. And well, we're going to be sticking around just for a little bit longer. We're going to talk about what happened this past week on Monday night with the annexation topic. We're going to go through the history of MUDs 2, 3, and 6. We're going to kind of talk about the process of what does annexation even look like. Right. And then we're going to kind of talk about what happened and occurred in the meeting. So, yeah, we're going to jump right into it. So give us a little background and history of MUD 2, 3, and 6. And while we do that, if we can pull up the Municipal Utility District PDF that's up here, we'll kind of take a brief look at just the whole city and quite a bit of MUDs.
Yeah, so it's interesting because originally out off of 288, and this is the map that's coming up that shows all the different MUDs within the city. But specifically, we're going to talk about those MUDs that are on the east side of 288 that are in the crosshatched area.
Yeah, right there says 2, 3, and 6.
2, 3, and 6. And so to really talk about the history of this, way back when, I'm going to go back into the early 80s, early to mid 80s, there were 6 MUD districts, municipal utility districts, 6 MUD districts that were created out here off of 288. And so if you can just imagine in the early to mid 80s, where the city limits was like at O'Day Road. Right. Okay, so way in towards the old town site, and there was literally nothing out here from a development standpoint, from people standpoint. Mm-hmm. And so there were 6 MUDs created, MUDs 1 through 6. And since that time, MUD 1, which was up and down Cullen Parkway, the old Southwick, has been annexed into the city. And then MUDs 4 and 5, which are north of 518, north of Broadway, have been annexed into the city. I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but it was the South Down area and the Country Place area.
Everything that's circling around Dawson High School today.
And annexed into the city. And those, over time, those came into the city and knew this, which left 2, 3, and 6 still out here in our ETJ, city's ETJ, extraterritorial jurisdiction. So,
and what's different about these ETJs versus the other ones is that part of each one of these 2, 3, and 6 are also in Manvel's ETJ. And we'll get into the complexities of that later. But people have to understand it's 2 cities here.
So 2, 3, and 6 have been out in this situation for a reason. Right. They are very complex in how they have been developed. They've been very complex in what jurisdictions they fall into. And so naturally, if, that's a big I, big F, they were to be annexed into the city, if they were annexed into the city, how that goes about being done, these complexities have to be talked about. So I have some personal history in 2, 3, and 6, dating back to some of my days on city council. Mm-hmm. So we actually had some discussions with these MUD districts back in the mid 2000s. We really didn't have much discussion with them in the mid to late 90s when I was on council, because they were, they were still developing, they were still moving. So if anybody wants to know if a district is coming into the city like this, here's what happens. Their debt, if any,
Right.
let's assume they've got, whether it's a penny of debt or $10 million worth of debt, the city absorbs and takes on that debt. So they absorb the debt. So, and for that, their tax rate on their MUD goes away and it's replaced with the tax rate from the city. So, so ideally, you want to have a MUD district coming into the city with either zero debt or such a low number that their taxable value and their taxes
Easily absorbed.
certainly offset it, and it's a net positive for the city, right? And so 2, 3, and 6. So today, MUDs 2 and 3 have no debt. MUD 6 has some debt. I don't remember the number, but they do have some debt. But also back in the early 2000s, you got to remember this was in our ETJ, extraterritorial jurisdiction, and back in those days, the city covered its entire ETJ with fire and EMS. Most of that obviously was under a volunteer structure, but we covered it. We covered the cost of equipment. We covered the cost of any structures and those types of things. And so that was kind of, quote, paying it forward for future annexation, right? It was giving them services. They didn't pay for it. They didn't pay for those services, so the taxpayers in the city paid for those services. And so in your mind as a policymaker, you're sitting there going, okay, I can justify that because one day they're going to come in and they're going to be a ratepayer just like anyone else. And so, but along those lines, I can't remember the exact date, but it was in the early 2000s, a sales tax agreement was entered into with MUD 6.
Right.
And so MUD 6, for those that obviously we're showing this online.
Yeah, if you see if you're looking at the blue striped area on the screen in front of you, there's a little tick that kind of goes north of 518, and that what's in that little tiny area there?
So anybody that's maybe listening to this as opposed to seeing it online, so the Target Center,
the Targets,
the Walmart
Best
that's
Buy.
out there, Best Buy,
What about all those restaurants that line
JCPenney's,
up?
the restaurants that are out there on the frontage road of 288, both north of Broadway as well as south of Broadway, the movie theater that's out there, all of that
is inside MUD 6.
is in MUD 6.
Not in the city limit.
Not in the city limits. And so, but the city collects sales tax as though it's in the city. And that's to help offset the fire and EMS cost.
Right.
So they're paying their freight. Does it pay it fully? Any given year it might, any given year it might not. But at least we're collecting some tax dollars off of that area for services that are being rendered by the city of Pearland. So back in the late 2000s, 8, 9, 10 time frame, we had actually discussed possibly annexing this area. Okay, just full blown. Let's talk about it. And in order to do that, the MUDs had to have been notified by the city,
Correct.
and put into a 3-year annexation plan. Okay, and so we did that. We actually notified the MUDs of our intent. Didn't mean that it would fully come about, but we at least informed them of our intent. And then we started those discussions and put them in that 3-year plan, okay? And then somewhere along the way, we discovered, as you've already mentioned, all 3 of these MUDs have jurisdiction in both the city of Pearland and the city of Manvel ETJ.
Right.
So if you're thinking about it, and if you've driven Magnolia Parkway,
Right.
okay,
Yeah.
Magnolia is the dividing line in that particular area for these MUDs up until I think it's either County Road 90. I think it's County Road 90 is the north-south. So if you're coming off of the 288 freeway and you're headed east, the Big Star Ford dealership is in Manvel, ETJ. The bank or the credit union that's on the corner there, I can't remember the name of it, is in Pearland, ETJ.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
that's the line. So as you're going down that way, and then when you pass County Road 90, everything east of there is in Pearland's ETJ. And then obviously you move into the city and as you move further east.
And in fact, we actually talked about this a couple weeks ago about the the annexation strip that the city of Pearland did back in 5960.
Correct.
And well, when we did our strip, we did it around what is now known as Pearland city limits and its ETJ.
Right.
And Manvel actually did the same thing around the same time frame.
Correct.
Except instead of doing a 100-foot strip, they kind of went.
They did a
10-foot strip. So here's Pearland, here's Manvel's line.
Right.
So their line follows our line through this area.
And so what made this difficult is the lines were drawn with the county roads.
Correct.
So if you look at a map,
and again, this was back in the 60s when they drew the line.
and county roads, you can set a ruler to a county road. They are straight as an arrow, and whether they go east or west or north and south. So if you look at County Road 90 and you look at Magnolia, those were county roads way back in the day. County Road 59 was Magnolia, and then you had County Road 94, and then you had County Road 90 over here, straight as an arrow. Well, when development comes in and a master planned approach, they relocate those roads.
Yep. That's why you see, if you're looking on a map, how Magnolia kind of dips a little bit south now.
Right. It dips south there, and then County Road 90, you see the curves through there.
Yep. And 94 is still straight as an arrow.
And that exacerbates then the city limit line, the city lines, that 100-foot strip, 10-foot strip. And just imagine, if you go back, this was all done in the, like you said, early 60s. On the annexation of the strips, and then here comes 20 years later, here comes development, and you're not thinking this is way off the beaten path. The city limits is 3-4 miles away. This is way out here. The city doesn't have the wherewithal to service them from a water and sewer standpoint. So that's why the MUDs were created, to create their own water and wastewater facilities and everything else. And so then they've just been operating out here on their own. So that gives you some history. So the history ended. So in about 2010, late 09, sometime in early 2010, I left council in May of 2010, but I was on the council when this happened. We actually had set up some meetings with Manvel about maybe do we do a ETJ swap.
Right.
So we put these MUDs into the city of Pearland, so it's not complicating the multiple city, aspect of it. So we had some conversations with the city of Manvel, and we got a report back that Manvel wanted a cool $1 million to do the swap.
And Tom Reed said,
and we said no. And we said no, and so. Then fast forward, we had taken them off the annexation plan, and then in 2017.
So I'm gonna make sure everyone heard that they were taken off of the annexation plan, because there was at one point where there was you can call it a 20-year, 25-year, or 30-year eventual plan to annex in a city.
Right.
But then of course the city at that time said nope, doesn't make sense to take them in,
because if you annex one of these MUDs, that means the city of Manvel would have to be ready to annex as well.
At the same time.
And they weren't ready to annex. And so it just became obvious, because of the multiple jurisdictions, that the annexation of this area just wasn't ready.
Right.
Okay. I'm not going to say it was feasible. Anything's feasible. May not be practical, but anything's feasible to happen. But it just wasn't ready.
Right.
And so
fast forward to 2017 for us. What occurred? Let's talk about it all. What occurred here in Pearland, what occurred at the state. This was really the last time we had this discussion about annexation was 2017.
Yeah. So before I do, none of these MUDs, even 2, 3, 2, 4, and 5, had what they call a strategic partnership agreement.
1, 4, and 5?
1, 4, and 5 that were annexed in.
1, 4, and 5.
1, 4, and 5. So 1 through 6, they were created so far back that none of them had what they call a strategic partnership agreement.
You're gonna hear us say SPA. Yeah.
Or SPA. And so what the SPA does is it sets a future annexation date. It can be annexed by right, and the citizens don't have a say-so.
Right.
Okay? So it's annexed on paper, and it usually gives a date, and it's any time after that date. It doesn't necessarily have to be on that date, but it's any time after that date. As an example, Mud 16, Avalon Terrace, which comes all the way out to Broadway, just east of Cullen, west of 1128, right in that area. That was a little donut hole in our city limits because it had a mud. Remember, I said it had debt. It had a certain amount of debt, but it had a SPA with the mud. And so just recently, that area was brought into the city under annexation because it was feasible, practical, and made financial sense for both the city and the residents. Those residents were already on our water, paying 1.5 times because they were in the ETJ, and their mud tax rate was right at the city tax rate. So, and taking in and absorbing their debt was a positive cash flow to the city. So it made sense. And the further you go out there, that law of diminishing returns, if you will, for the city to do that, as well as the residents. So Mud 16 was actually brought into the city about 1.5 years ago, and they are there now. They got to vote in their first elections this last May. And so that is an example of really an involuntary annexation, but it was done through paper when it was created. So most MUDs created today in an ETJ somewhere will have a SPA already attached to it, so it can be annexed at some future date. Doesn't mean that it will. It just means that it can. So 2, 3, and 6 did not have a SPA.
Right.
Okay. And so 2017 comes around, legislation, it was actually a special session on it after the session, and they completely redid the annexation laws where no longer can you have involuntary annexations.
Right.
Okay. So in other words, the city can't just reach out, whether you like it or not,
we're going to take you in
and bring you into the city. It requires a vote of the people living within the annexed area or proposed annexed area. So, and in fact, it requires the proposed area to submit a petition. So it actually would mean that these MUD districts would have to come together and say, I think it's better for us to be annexed. They would have to go get a petition of their people, and that petition has to be presented to the city. The city would
Pearland and Manvel,
and in this particular case, Pearland and Manvel, and the cities then there's an election held and within the MUDs for the people to vote on, and the city of Pearland and the city of Manvel
have to pay for
that election. Right. So the MUDs don't even pay for the election.
Right.
So the city would have to pay for that election. So I don't know what that costs. Probably $20,000 or $30,000 to hold that election, and that would be split between the two cities and everything else. Now, keep in mind, I'm not even sure legally if we can even accept the petition, because even if the people had said yes, we want to be annexed, and vote affirmatively, yes, we want to be annexed, the city of Pearland and the city of Manvel still have the power to say by resolution, we are not annexing it.
Still say no.
To say no. Okay? They can say yes and they can say no. So forced annexation both directions. An area can't force itself on a
force
city.
Itself in, and
the city can't force out.
Right.
Okay? Force the other direction. So in this particular case, Manvel as well has already sent the word. They don't have any interest in bringing these areas into the city. So that is the history of 2, 3, and 6. Now, talk about fire and EMS service for just a second.
Yep. This is a very important part of it.
So when the law was passed in 2017, again, remember I said early on that the city of Pearland had been kind of paying it forward, covering our entire ETJ with fire and EMS service. So the city taxpayers had been paying for services that are being rendered in the ETJ, because at one point in time, those areas will be in the city paying it as well. Okay, it's kind of being a good neighbor, making sure that we did it that way. Well, when the law was passed, council, I think they did the right thing and said, we are no longer covering our ETJ with fire and EMS. You need to go and set up your own emergency services district. The only exception to that was MUD 6. MUD 6, because we were covering their fire and EMS coverage with the sales tax dollars, we didn't force that issue.
Right.
Okay, because they're paying their freight. But 2, 3, and the rest of 6 that's in Manvel, okay, had to go into an emergency services district or an ESD. You hear those terms, out there. So they had to vote they had a vote in that particular area, and they created, it was either ESD 4 or ESD 5. I can't remember.
I think it's 5.
Most of Manvel is covered by ESD 3, which is a very large district, starts in Manvel and goes way south into our county. It's about 600 square miles of the county. But so you had this area, and then you have another area within our city's ETJ over around Pearland Regional Airport. Same thing. It was in our ETJ. They went into an ESD as well. It's either 4 or 5. I can't remember the number. And so they pay a property tax, like 10 cents or something like that, for their fire and EMS coverage. And we no longer, we cover them. We do still cover them, right, but they're now paying for it through their ESD. So we contract with their ESD, so we're getting payments for that. So city taxpayers are kind of whole, if you will, that they're not just paying into a black hole out here that we'll never have anything off of it. And then there's an actual study going on right now to make sure that what we're services rendered, that we're actually getting paid
back
for the services rendered. So there could be some adjustments to that over time. But the hope is you're paying your way. So that sets up for the history of where we are.
And yeah, you went through the process of annexation, so I'm just going to reiterate kind of what you mentioned. The MUD boards, through petition, come to the city, not the city to the MUD boards. Correct. So and then at the same time, if in fact the residents that live in MUDs 2, 3, and 6 want to be annexed, the city also has to be on board with it.
Correct.
Just making sure that's completely clear. And not just the city of Pearland, but also the city of Manvel with it. Correct. So I know there's been this was a bit of a hot topic about a week or so ago, because this was shown on a discussion item for the upcoming meeting, which was this past Monday night on the 27th. And there's seems to be some confusion around it. A lot of residents, they see the word annex, so they automatically assume that the city's talking about annexation. Right. Well, and then we have our mayor who is then saying, no, that's not what this topic is about. This topic is just about discussion on emergency services, which you just laid out, and other things. So I want to talk about kind of words matter. Yeah. Words matter 100%. And I want to talk about real quick, just how did we get here? How did we get to this confusion? Right. So first, if Raul, if you can, pull up the annexation discussion part 1. I just want to listen to the first 45 seconds or so of this. I want you to listen to the mayor's words on what he says. And the other one. Yeah, this is part 2. Excuse me. Yeah, so this discussion took place towards the end of the meeting on Monday night. So if you are wanting to look at it at its whole, you can always go back to YouTube and look at it.
Yeah. So before we show this clip real quick, to further set up the meeting and the item that being placed on here. So the mayor has the right to place anything the mayor wants on the agenda.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. And that's part of the duties and the privileges that the mayor has. If a council member wants to put something on the agenda, then they have to get another council member to second it and put things on. In this particular case, not a single member of council was consulted. Not a single member of council was aware until it dropped into their agenda. And not a single member of council even wanted to discuss anything about annexation of 2, 3, and 6.
Because of the process we just laid out, it has to come from the MUD board to the city.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So go ahead and hit play, and y'all listen to his words here.
What I wanted to do, because it's pretty thick, I want to clear the air. I think it's important. There is obviously information that got distributed beyond the context of the actual council issue for city council discussion. And I had to really think back heavily when I put this on, if I even mentioned that the city of Pearland was annexing any part of anything that did not belong to the city of Pearland. And I had to do some searching, and it seems like because of some of the comments that were made, that there's secondhand information. So what I would like to do, I put together.
So he just mentioned there that the discussion that was put on the agenda was simply as a discussion. And he went on and spoke 10 minutes straight, saying that this was about the fire and EMS, this was about the study, this was about water and sewer, and never once was it intended to be about annexation. Now, that's what he says here in the video, but his social media account says otherwise. Put up one of the Facebook replies, either one, it doesn't matter which one, because we're going to go through both of them. This is a Facebook post straight that he posted on Thursday night, and in the comments.
This is Thursday night before the Monday council meeting.
Correct. This was a response back to our to Buck Stevens. A lot of people apparently know Buck Stevens. I'm going to read the middle portion of this comment. It says, this is a quote from Mayor Quentin Wiltz. The people of Pearland are more than capable of speaking for themselves, and they deserve the space to do so respectfully, which is what this is about. This is about whether they are in favor of an annex or not.
And this meaning the item he placed on the agenda.
Correct. Go to the second Facebook reply. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and read to everyone what this says. There's a couple people here. An individual, it appears that this person lives in one of the areas, MUDs 2, 3, and 6. I don't know 100% sure, but the question was asked, would this go to a vote by the residents of these communities, or would it be decided for us? If this was not about annexation, this is where the mayor could have said,
right there. This isn't about annexation.
Instead, he says, it depends. Number one, no, it doesn't.
Right.
Because the process states in state law, the MUD board comes to the city. There is no it depends.
Correct.
Now, if this was not about annexation, he had a chance saying right there, it is not about annexation. Correct. We just want to inform you of what's going on between the fire and EMS and ESDs.
Right.
So then a person asks, so if it isn't something we can vote on, will you still listen to what we're saying? You made a Facebook post. We spoke clearly, and they stated that they'll be at the meeting ready to speak. His response, Mayor Quentin Wiltz says, I will always listen. The community has a right to be heard, whether you are in favor of the annex or not. So here he has, here in a video at the start at the meeting, he's saying, this is not about annex. I don't know why people are hearing this information, why they're saying or gathering misinformation about annexing into the city. But his words on social media says otherwise.
It's pretty clear.
Now, I am willing to bet that he saw the comments on social media. If I remember correctly, there was 100 or so comments on this thread that were in opposition of annexation. I know council received a couple of dozen emails about opposition of annex. Right. there were 18 individuals who were present at the Monday night meeting.
Right.
17 of them were in opposition.
Opposition.
So I'm not going to speculate. I'm going to let those viewers that are watching at home say, was this a pivot by the mayor at the last minute because he saw where this was headed? But
you may not say it, but I will. This was in the moment, I am getting major pushback. This was never about annexation when it was. When it was. And I'm going to be a little critical. Okay, I'm going to be a little critical because, again, as an elected official, words matter.
Sure.
As an elected official, when you put something out for people to see, you need to be very clear what that intent is. Now, he put this out on social media, inviting people to come to the meeting. At no time in the body of that message did he say, this is only about looking at emergency services or water and wastewater and how we can better connect as people across this community. He didn't do that. He did a poor job of putting that out to the community, which fired up the speculation about annexation. And in his own words, within the thread, alludes to annexation. So this was a game time pivot at the dais.
if I'm not mistaken, he went through a 5-slide presentation on what he was intended to do during this discussion. And this supplement that he spoke from was turned in that afternoon.
Correct.
Monday before the meeting. So if this was truly something that he was had the foreknowledge of saying, oh no, we're going to speak about EMS, fire, this would have been turned in much sooner.
Which, by the way, a supplement for the agenda item that night has a deadline of noon.
And correct. And
he
was
did it afternoon.
Well past that deadline.
Which, makes me wonder if he got special treatment on the supplement.
Sure. So and it doesn't stop there. Throw up the resident concern. I went ahead and redacted some of this information because this is a person who lives in our ETJ. I do not want to share their information.
Right.
So I went ahead and cut off some of the information. But I want to read the last part. And said number 9. So if you are living in the city of Pearland and you want to be able to submit a comment to council, there is a way to do so online. That's where this is from. This gets directly sent to the mayor and council. So this is where this is coming from. And it's all public information once sent. So this was
public document.
This was legally obtained.
Right.
It says, as a near 30-year resident of MUD 3 ETJ, we do not want to be annexed. In fact, I find it very suspect the mayor placed this on the agenda without appropriate notice to the MUD, City Council, and ETJ residents. Even if it is just for discussion, it follows a trend that bodes poorly in how the mayor conducts himself regarding transparency and fairness. And then here's the question he puts out. Is this for our revenue or is it for Democratic votes? Makes me wonder. And you can't help but speculate and wonder.
And that's all we're going to do on that is speculate.
Right.
But I will say this, if he wants to have a discussion about those areas and how we interface and how we work together and those types of things, then there is a whole different way to do that process.
Right.
This is not how you do it. What I do hope from this outcome, if you will, for now, I hope the mayor learned a lesson on how to do certain things and how not to do certain things. I will tell people, I'll say it here. He and I had a lunch discussion on June the 15th.
Yep, you mentioned it before.
I mentioned it before in a previous broadcast, and we had a lunch meeting, and he asked me about the power of placing things on the agenda. And I said, it is a power that the mayor has because they don't have to go get a second. They don't have to talk to anybody from council. They don't, nothing with staff. You just want to put it on there. You have that right. I said, but it comes at a price. Okay. And I said, my advice to you is anytime you want to put something on the agenda, you can legally without getting into Texas Open Meetings Act violations, the mayor can talk up to 3 people, 3 council members. You get to 4, the mayor plus 4 equals a quorum, and you've broken the law. But you can talk up to 3. My advice to him was, anytime you want to contemplate putting anything on the agenda, I don't care what it is, I don't care if it's controversial, have a conversation with at least 2, if not 3 council members to judge how that goes.
Right.
And I even gave him a story, funny story. I even gave him a story of Mayor Reed. When I was on council, Mayor Reed brought something to council, zero input from council members. He just put it on. It had something to do with doing some resolution for the lottery or something like that. And we said no. And across the board was, no, we're not going to weigh in on this. No, we're not going to weigh on this. He did not vet it with any members of council prior to placing it on the agenda. And in fact, Richard Teetons, didn't say a word, sat over there, and he looked and he said, well, Councilmember Teetons, do you have anything to say on this issue? And Councilmember Teetons just very softly said, you'll hear me loud and clear with my vote. And it was a 5-0 vote. We're not going to do this. So even Mayor Reed learned the lesson that you need to vet things before you place things on the agenda. I vet, anytime I put something on the agenda, I would have a conversation with my mayor pro tem at a minimum, okay? If not, 1 or 2 other members of council. And there were things that I wanted to discuss that I didn't put on the agenda after I had discussions.
Because exactly.
Okay? And not that we didn't need to discuss them, we may need to do it in a different format or a different way. And so this could have been avoided had he simply talked to some of his council members. And quite frankly, his staff, the staff at City Hall, knows this process very well and predicted this wouldn't go where. And so if anybody really wants to know, you go watch the entire discussion, the 18 people and speaking and the mayor's comments and everything else. Council really didn't have anything to say afterwards because, again, they know this needs to come from the MUDs to the city.
Right.
They quickly, let's just move on to our next item and dispense of this.
Right. Yeah. And no, I'm glad you shared your perspective on vetting with council. It's very important to build those relationships on council, even if it's just with a handful, just to get feedback on discussion items.
Yeah.
That way you can avoid something like this happening on council. So, but for those living in MUDs 2, 3, and 6, we hope you understand and learned a little bit of the process. If you didn't already know, a lot of people in MUDs 2, 3, and 6 are very informed. With this process. They know this process very well, and they are quick to stand their ground if this process was to have to come back up.
And the Silver Lake, Silver Creek, area,
Southwick,
and Southwick of our city, it's a great community. It's a great area.
A lot of great people out there.
It's very well established. Great people, well entrenched in the community, in the schools, within organizations throughout our city. They just don't live in the true city limits, and so it is what it is. We can't change the past. Things happen for a reason, and here we are. And so, hopefully everyone's learned a little bit of a lesson, through this process, and we can do better, in the future. But this discussion shouldn't have come out the way it did.
No.
And I think once we have the data back from the cost of fire and EMS services into the ESD areas and into MUD 6, then hopefully there's proper notification of those MUDs, and let's discuss how that looks.
Right. Yeah. Moving forward, there's still going to be some negotiations, still some talks between the city and those MUDs, because like you said, that study is going on right now. So no, the annexation process is not moving forward, but conversations regarding these MUDs will continue to still be present. So, but that is all we have for today's episode. Next week, we're going to get a little, we're going to hit another hot topic in the city of Pearland. go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. If you want to know our thoughts on water billing,
water rates, water billing, and why we have been seeing some of the rate increases over the X years that we've been doing this. Tune in.
You may want to know some history. You have been talking about water billing for pretty much your entire term as mayor, and we're going to kind of dive into it. Hopefully you guys can join us for that discussion. That is it for today. We appreciate you guys here with us. Give us a like, give us a share, give us a follow, subscribe. That is it for today's Talk of the Town podcast, where we bring local leaders, local stories, and local impact. Thanks. Have a good one.